I am a man with many enemies.
The elevator opens for no one,
The Boston Red Sox,
and plans are making me.
the mayor of Boston, the governor of Massachusetts,
I'm paralyzed into you,
Boston Globe.
and plans are making me.
It's a war.
And plans are making me.
We're going to battle it out.
All sit there, won't be
Everyone looks
entertained,
like
won't learn a fucking
everyone.
thing.
My dick's so big doesn't even matter. He's 2 feet tall.
And nobody will get in trouble. Now, of course, everybody's fucking kill each other after watching.
He's gonna fucking open his mouth, it'll fall right in.
You're too busy to accept it.
And it is going to be, when it's done, the most successful podcast in the history of mankind.
And we already met.
Listen, there's only one Minifan show.
Everyone looks like everyone.
It's right here.
And
All right, folks, welcome into a special edition of Quantum Kirk. This is a show that, if you don't know, was originally done by Danny and Daver, and they had well over 20 episodes. So what we're going to try to do tonight is do them justice. We're going to try to, honor their legacy by doing a good episode of Quantum Kirk. Obviously, the show has ended for now, so what better time than now to jump in and review some old episodes. More to get to, but just real quick, introduce the panel. On the bottom of our screen, we do have a former producer of the show who was a producer during this episode, Jack Coleman. Jack, how are you?
Yeah, no, production was great on this one. Good to be here, though, fellas. I know that for a while we had been talking about doing some kind of revitalized Quantum Kirk. So good that this finally kind of came about, even though the show's done now.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We were trying to get it done over the summer. Scheduling just didn't line up. We had a few people ready to go.
Stock down
it fell
Brando.
apart.
Stock down Brando. Guy couldn't even answer. I was looking forward to seeing the kid. Just, brutal. No
So
show.
we'll get there. Brando was supposed to be on. He isn't, but that's okay. He's in the comments. So there you go, Brando. And PRC, the namesake of Jack Coleman, People's Republic of Coleman, PRC. How are you?
I am doing great. I, for one, also would have loved Brando to be on so I could be in the background, but that's okay. I'm happy to be here in the foreground and talking shop.
I will say, PRC real quick, pros pro. This guy all week has been answering messages. He's been pulling clips, assumedly for this show. Pros pro, looking back on him in the producer search the last time around, deserve to be there.
I appreciate that. That's why I'm always a Cole man.
Come on now.
That's a good point. And we do have three of us on screen. When Danny and Daver did it, usually it was just them two. But they are pros as well. So we can't fill their shoes. We need three of us to do the lifting that two of them did. Before we get into the episode, any thoughts on the show ending? I know, it happened abruptly. It was 3-4 weeks ago at this point, but sort of where are you at on that? Or like, what did you feel when you saw it come across the wire? How are we doing?
Yeah, I think my parents told me before I knew. I wasn't watching it live. So when they told me, I was shocked, obviously, and listened back from the jump. I mean, when I realized it was the finale in the moment, I kind of started listening to it through that lens, kind of realizing this is all that we would be left to. And essentially it's that, funny enough, Sopranos fading to black moment that we got here with KMS. It was any other show, like any other day. And that felt right. That felt fitting. I hope, everything's good with Kirk. It seems to be that he has a lot of stuff coming up between the case and Dozen and the movie pod and everything. So, if you include KMS, he was already doing more work, I would say, than a majority of Barstool as is. So, him cutting one show out of it, he's still around. It seems like he's still going to be all over our feeds everywhere anyway. So, sucks to see for the main show, but I think, Kirk's here to stay. It's nothing that he can't handle or anything in this next phase. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see how it all turns about from here on out. Hopefully we see some Minifans involved in some stuff going forward. That seemed to be what he said, but Yeah, overall, it just sucks. You have a hole in your week, in your day that you no longer have that show to listen to. So for me personally, it's just trying to find different ways to kind of consume that time now.
Yep, always looking to get your holes filled, Coleman.
Exactly.
PRC.
Yes.
Quick thoughts, PRC.
Great transition. I'm kidding.
No, I'm happy for Kirk. Like Coleman just said, he's on a bunch of stuff, so it's not like we're gonna be void of any Kirk stuff like that. I'm not used to people using metaphors and allegories on these shows, and Coleman's been bringing them up, like with The Sopranos. Fade to black, so it's going to take some getting used to for someone intelligent on here to kind of get that going. But
don't give me that.
I'm happy with Kirk. I like that we keep doing shows and keep doing stupid stuff. I mean, because community is really what everything is about, and the show is all about. So just whatever anybody can do, it's just fun to get on here and just shoot the shit with the boys. So
for sure.
Yeah, and a quick note on that. So like I said at the top, this is a special edition of Quantum Kirk. I wouldn't say that Quantum Kirk is coming back on a weekly basis or anything like that, but it is possible that, between now and Laconia, maybe we get a crew together once a month and we do one of these episodes. Maybe each time we do an episode and grab one of the producers, that was on the show at the time. So tonight is a good lead in for Coleman because, he was the producer for this episode. So yes, the network exists. It's obviously not going to be what it was while the show was going. You don't have your recap shows and your discussion shows that only talk KMS, which is fine, but life goes on. Quick note before we get into the episode. So like I said, the network is run by Menners, and I've been watching old Quantum Kirks to sort of get ready for this one. And something that they used to do is talk about Menners a little bit in a negative light. So I did want to emphasize that, Menners runs the network. He runs the network much like someone else that used to run a network. His name was Roger Ailes. The only difference is that Menners is a shorter, balder, fatter version of Roger Ailes, and he is about 100 times the Predator. So I just want to get that out there before we jump into the episode.
I'll quick comment on Menners. I love seeing the up and down and real time emotions of him going through this show. Like, he's still heartbroken and shattered and doesn't know what to do with himself. And it's every other day. He goes from hating the show to absolutely missing it. It's a roller coaster of emotions if you just have notifications on from Menners. I love it.
Yes.
Do we all have to say something about Menners? I don't know. He's short.
No.
Yeah. Fuck Menners.
All right, so let's just jump into the episode. All right, so the episode was titled "Your League is Done, Jeff." It's from January 24th of 2024. So Coleman, you were about 3 or 4 months into your run as the producer, and you had a big voice in selecting this episode to review. So take us back. What stood out about this episode, without getting too much into the specifics, about sort of why it stood out and why you wanted to talk about it tonight?
I thought with this one, and I've thought about it a good deal since I've left, like an individual episode that fully stood out to me was this one. And you look at the runtime of it, and that alone should tell you. We got 4 hours, 20-something minutes packed into this thing. And at the core plot point story of this show,
I think it's like 408, but
yeah. So the core plot line through this whole thing is that the dozen is on the brink of imploding. And it all started from this horrible Titus bit that I'm sure we'll get to. But if you look at that entire show, KMS was the epicenter of everything that went on at Barstool that day. Kirk kept going show after show, mostly sports, ended. Wake Up Mincy, ended. KMS is still going. Yak, still going on, ended. We got Big Cat calling in. Barstool Radio, simulcast. You have Dave calling in. KMS was the launching point for every single discussion and every single headline from Barstool that day. So that's why it mainly stuck out to me. I think on top of it, you also just get a random interview mixed in here with AJ and Meadow Soprano, which I loved having Steve from Gloucester in studio for that interview too. So I think that's a little bit of a positive on my end. And I just thought that everything was really, really clicking with the show at this point from my perspective. So we were coming off, I believe it was like 5 episodes in a row into this one. Justin's the new producer next to me, and there was going to be another show the next day and Rough and Rowdy together that following night. So it was just kind of this perfect episode to me, and I thought encapsulated kind of my run perfectly.
Yep, and just to set the stage, you did mention there was a run towards the end of the show where you had Portnoy call in, Jeff call in, Rico, then Big Cat, then Clemmer, then Kirk calls into Barstool Radio, and the whole thing devolves. But we will get there. But to set the stage, so it was a 4-hour show. There was an interview with Robert Eiler and Jamie Lynn Siegler in the middle of it, which was great, and we'll talk about that as well. But to start the episode, so to set the stage, Steve from Gloucester was in, as well as Mutt. And Mutt was late.
Yes.
I feel like Mutt is one of the only guys that, like, he just shows up late every once in a while and he sort of gets a pass.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, if you show up late, I kind of think that there's something wrong with you and you should be, personally accosted by each and every single person online. So that's my 2 cents. Just throwing that out there.
But you did mention the thing that sort of kicked it off is when they were getting the show started, and Justin stumbled onto this audio from Mark Titus on Mostly Sports.
I think it was Mostly Sports into Wake Up Mincy or something.
Whatever show it was.
Yeah.
So Mark Titus was doing some. Okay, so take a step back. The day before, Kirk traded himself in the dozen for Mincy.
Yeah.
And it mostly went quiet and unnoticed until Dave Portnoy realized that it was an unfair trade. That sets the stage for all the drama that unfolds after that. We do have the audio, I believe, of Titus with Kirk listening in saying, is this a bit? So, PRC, if you have that, can you pull it up?
Yeah, this is kind of what set the whole stage for the whole day.
The trade to Ben Mintz has been traded back to Team Sports.
What?
For Kirk Minahan.
Fucking cock-sucking pussy bitch.
So that's the whole thing, was the bit set up after the trade that he's been traded back, and then Justin couldn't figure out if it was a bit or not, and that was even funnier. So,
well, and I think the reason is because it was Mark Titus doing a 20-minute bit where he went on this long rant to Mincy about being traded back, but he did all these terms and conditions where at the end of it all, it was like he wasn't actually traded back.
Yeah, I think that, the dozen obviously means a lot to Kirk. And, when he goes and makes a move like this, all for some new guy to just fucking waste 20 minutes on a bit that the punchline of the joke was essentially Mincy is a retard. Like, what's the point of that? Like, you could hear my frustration whenever it came up again throughout the rest of the episode. It was like, I still don't understand the bit. And like PRC said, we never would have got on the road that this episode really took without that stupid, without Titus's stupid thing in the beginning. So interesting.
Yeah. So Kirk hears this and he is furious at Justin for not being able to figure out if it's a bit or not. You two are scrambling in the studio because you're listening to clips live. You're trying to figure it out. It's not easy to decipher because obviously, like, Titus goes on this long thing, but whether it's a bit or not, it pissed off Kirk to no end. I think we have audio of Kirk sort of blowing up regarding the situation.
Chicago's a fucking play world. The world will fucking end before I set one fucking foot in that fucking Chicago office ever fucking again. Fuck Dan Katz. Fuck Hank Longwood. Fuck Eric Sollenberger. Fuck fucking Mark Titus. Fuck Brandon Walker. Fuck stupid Megan making money, fucking making sandwiches. I'll play so fucking time. Fuck that entire fucking shitbag cock-sucking office, okay? It's a fucking war now.
It's fucking electric. Like Chief Keef, like Love Sosa, how it starts off like Chief Keef ain't about this, Chief Keef ain't about that. That's what Kirk felt like he was on right now. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if he went into a fucking rap song right after the dissing Chicago. Like, he was fucking every single person on there. It was great.
You should have sampled that and made one, Coleman.
That's what I'm saying. That's actually not a bad call, PRC. Not a bad call.
Well, sometimes things go over my head. I'm not a young one like you guys. But,
yeah, it's for the young Minifans out there. Yeah. The sister.
Yeah. So that was one of the first times. I mean, you've seen Kirk go crazy before, but you're behind the glass. Kirk is going nuts. What's going through your mind? Are you thinking like, what's next? Are you thinking like, this is crazy? Where are you at?
So, I mean, I had seen Kirk freak out because I had the whole Gus saga basically be leading up to this, like all through November, December, whatever. So I was probably used to it at that point. Really what was going on was Justin and I just really trying to figure out if this is a bit or not. It's so hard when that show starts to accurately have like 100% accuracy on every single like breaking news thing. Everything leading up to it, sure, you should kind of know the general story about every topic brought up. But when it's live and you have other shows simultaneously broadcasting at the same time, you're just like putting your phone to your ear or trying to find a way to get accuracy on anything. So very tough situation. And obviously, as Kirk is getting more and more irritated with us not finding it, it's just more and more stressful too.
Yeah, and as you could see in that clip, Steve from Gloucester was in one chair and the other chair was empty because Mutt hadn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
So
listen, those kids got to get on the bus somehow, you know?
So, and again, just for context, this was 2 weeks after the Delaware Subway show, which was about 3 weeks after Justin was actually hired as a producer. So he's in his first month as producer. This was right after Gus got fired. He's sort of going through, he's, rolling with the punches. Even though he's been around the show the whole time, he wasn't a full-time producer until this month. So he's trying to figure it out on the fly. And so this all leads to the first domino to fall is that Portnoy calls into the show. Do we have some audio from that first Portnoy call?
Yeah, we have him. This is where he says that who's to blame for him doing his own thing and his plans for starting a new league. So,
yeah, let's play it.
The fact that people switch so much and there's no rules, it's ruining it anyways. And by the way, the numbers show it; they're going down.
Is there?
Yeah. So early on, Dave was the only one that had a problem with Kirk trading himself for Mincy because it created a competitive imbalance. Kirk was the best player in the league, and Dave's answer to that was, "I'm creating a new league." Like this was when Live Golf was launching and sort of separating itself from the PGA Tour. So Dave Portnoy decided he was going to create the Triv League, which is going to be an offshoot, less games, more money, bigger prizes. And you'll see as we go through the episode, some of the big players in the dozen started to get in line behind Dave, whether it was because that's his boss or they actually had frustrations with the dozen. I'm not sure. But after Dave calls in, I think Dave called in and then Jeff D. Lowe called in and he was in a panic. Like he was seeing ghosts. He was not in a good spot. Maybe one of his worst days professionally at Barstool. Jack, what do we got?
I like that Jeff gets as rattled as he does still about Dave and Portnoy. And frankly, like I get it. Like that's his main boss and everything. And, I think about sometimes how I've been under Kirk. Like you get in your head about something sometimes. It's just so great that when especially the dozen comes crashing down at times on Jeff, just how bitchy he gets. I love it. I like Jeff a lot. Shout out to Fonz, proud member. But when he just starts getting bitchy and kind of almost does like the Coleman face pissed off thing, nothing better to me. So that entire episode is just pure Jeff having a heart attack the entire time, basically.
Yeah, and PRC, I haven't thrown it to you for your opinion much, but feel free to chime in. So where at this time you were a Minifan, you were hardcore, you were listening to everything. What do you remember what you were thinking when you were watching or listening to this episode and sort of how everything unfolded?
Yeah, like we got to put this back into context. This is also like the Live Golf League had just started too. And that was very intriguing to me. Now I know it's like a boring piece of shit. And like I went to the one in Indianapolis and it sucked. And it was just not
one
fun.
In Florida in Miami was gas though. I had a great time there.
Well, maybe it's the scenario, but Well, they were going to do the live in Indianapolis at the Brickyard, but they canceled last minute and moved it to some shitty place in Westfield. That's neither here nor there. But I was really excited about like a new high stakes league and like the big time players playing it. I thought I loved the dozen, and during the winter, the winter time when there's nothing on, it's great to have it 2 or 3 days a week. But at that point, like I kind of wanted like the big high stakes matches and stuff like that, and putting a little bit more skin in the game. So I was kind of excited about what was going on, and that was also kind of like my first big introduction to Jeff D. Lowe doing his classic like going off the rails kind of fight with Dave and stuff like that. So
yeah, and this was the first of many times that Jeff and Dave were on the show that day. Dave basically on his call, he said, "I'm not bluffing. I'm going to create this new league. There's going to be cash prizes." Kirk had an internal debate the whole time, like, should I do it? Should I not? I want to be loyal to Jeff, but this new thing sounds very intriguing. And I believe in that first half of the show, Jeff called in while Dave was also on.
Yes.
Do we have more Jeff or Dave audio sort of in the first half of the show?
Yes, we have an epic fight between Jeff and Dave right here.
I will say too, as we get
accept it through, just like accepted the other one. Nobody in the league.
I'm saying it's a fair trade.
Jeff's side here. Hold on, Jeff. I'm on your side
no
here.
one
but,
agrees with
but
your like pencil pushing rules thing you're going on. No one's like, Jeff, the rules, Jeff. What are these rules? No one's
Common
saying
sense,
that.
you
Nobody's
idiot.
saying that.
Need
Common
the
sense
person
only one is
to
complaining.
still be on that team.
Only
no
one
one
person
fucking
complaining.
cares. I'm trying to save the league. I'm looking at the long term. You're ruining it.
You tried to
create
take
a league
matches
that
away 2
gets
weeks
bigger
ago.
numbers,
Save the league. You
better
want the league
numbers,
to not
and
exist.
bigger rules.
when will
If
this?
I wasn't in charge of this company
2 weeks
anymore,
ago
I
you
would have
said
let it
less
go.
matches.
I have an obligation to everybody at this company. If we have a good trivia league, I know somebody's ruining it. You, Jeff, I gotta save it, make it better. That's what I'm gonna do. I don't want to do it. It's more work for me.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think the one thing that really sets Dave off on this tirade throughout the day is Jeff saying that he's bluffing. You hear multiple times throughout, Dave keeps bringing that point up. And by the end of the episode, Dave is like, yeah, the bluffing thing really pissed me off. And it was just hinted at the entire time. And by the end, he's finally like, yeah, that was it.
And there was another thing that triggered Dave as well, is that they kept saying that the rule had been set. There was an existing example of this, and someone had traded himself in the past. I forget specifically who it was, but it was like someone that Dave considered a total zero. And he's like, stop using that as an example. Reegs. Yeah.
Reegs.
He said Reegs is like a human, like watching the wall, the paint dry on the wall. Like nothing he does will ever like set the precedent for anything that Kirk does, because they're in two different leagues. So I thought that was funny. That was a recurring thing that was mentioned probably a half a dozen times during the course of those ongoing arguments. So they have that call. They don't come to a resolution. They just argue, and they sort of leave the call with no resolution. The show goes on. Big Cat calls in. And when Big Cat calls in, he's kind of like, I don't know, I might be showing some interest in this new league. He at the time was the head of one of the biggest dozen teams. So if you get the dominoes to fall, if you get Big Cat, if you get the Brandon Walkers, if you get the Kirks, then the dozen is basically, dead. And this was, I think, really getting Jeff to sweat. Do we have any of the first Big Cat call?
No, we don't have the Big Cat call.
If we don't, that's fine. But did Coleman, do you remember if you guys called Big Cat or if he called in?
Ooh.
He called in.
He probably called in, I'd say. Or maybe we called him and then he called back. I really don't remember. I do know though, at this time, I would say, even through the basketball team and everything that would come, we're forgetting that all the surviving Barstool shit between Kirk and Big Cat happened way down the line, kind of after the fact. I think Big Cat was as locked in as pretty much anyone with KMS on a pretty daily basis during this run too.
That surviving stuff with Big Cat, that was not until the next year. So
exactly, and they had just finished recently the one before that in New York. Yeah.
So do we have any, before we transition to the interview, anything else from the first? Well, so actually, let me put a postmark here. This was all within the first hour of the show. The Big Cat call, I think, ended at hour 1. So everything that we've seen so far was only in the first hour of the show, and it wasn't a typical episode of KMS to that point. It was very dozen centric, very controversial in terms of what's going to happen next type of thing.
I don't think I had more than one drop this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to squeeze them in.
Like exactly, it was just a very different vibe and a lot of interviews basically throughout the entire time.
Yeah, so hour 2 of the show starts with basically hour 2 to 3 is sort of your more traditional, typical recent KMS. So you get your Steve from Gloucester bits, you get your Mutt bits. I thought one note I had, Steve from Gloucester, he's a pro at wedging things into the conversation when they don't necessarily have a place to fit. Like he just randomly brought up Al Pacino in his top 5 movies. And I don't know if you remember that or had any takeaways from that, but he was like, "Oh, not Scent of a Woman."
Well, the whole thing with Steve in this episode too is that he got the kill. He got the Gus kill. The whole reason that Steve wanted to come into studio and everything for the first part was because he hated Gus. So he gets the kill, and then pretty much leading up to this episode, he's just a big softy, which is kind of what we know him as now. But this is where we kind of get the modern Steve after Gus leaves and everything, and we eventually get to like Portland and everything in the live show that comes after. So
yeah, exactly. He turned into soft serve Steve, and he the first 3 or 4 times he was on, he was going for the kill, trying to get Gus out, but like skirting it, like I don't want to fire him. Like he was playing both sides, and then this was like the transition point where he became like just a puppet for Kirk.
Right.
Do we PRC? We have some audio of this?
Yeah, this is like when Mutt calls out Steve for being basically a puppet of Kirk during the whole show. So
repeat what he said.
No, I'm not going to do that.
What was your issue with Steve?
I have no issue with him.
What's your last couple times have been on, you pile on, and he says the same exact thing you're saying.
Yeah.
5 seconds later, that annoys me.
Okay. It annoys you?
It bothers.
You even turned soft on Gus.
He's soft serve Steve. We know
What
that.
are you guys talking
He's
about?
soupy Steve.
I'm the one who laid into him.
But
at the end, it was like
your kill. But after the show, you're like, I like Gus.
I don't want to say I got my kill, but I kind of led you along the path, didn't I, Kirk? I nudged you.
I led you along the path.
Mr. Steve.
Yeah.
Dance. Let's go.
Yeah, so Mutt showed a little bit of
my
life.
guy. I love Steve. I can't help it.
So that was good. Mutt showed a little bit of life going after Steve. One note, so he did bring up the Pacino thing. Every time Pacino is mentioned, I can't not say my favorite thing about Al Pacino is that his actual first name is Alfredo.
Oh.
Not a lot of people know that. Alfredo Pacino. I just feel like it's perfect.
Interesting.
Is it really Alfredo Pacino?
It is.
That can't be real, man.
I look it up.
What is Al Pacino?
Shit, yeah. Alfredo James Pacino. All right.
So continuing in hour 2, I mean, we'll get through it quick because not a ton happened in hour 2, but there was still a lot of sort of typical KMS stuff going on. They did mention, if you remember, Blind Mike was sort of flirting with going on Lauren Compton's podcast.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't know at the time, she's a podcaster that does something called like First Date or something like that. And she has people on and they talk about their dating style or whatever. And for Blind Mike at the time, this was like a big land for him. So do you recall anything from that saga?
Yeah, it was just basically she tweeted out, who should I have on as a guest on this next? And Horn Dog Minifans, God bless them, they got one look at her and just started spamming Blind Mike in the comments. And she was interested, I guess. So I went back and forth DMing her a little bit, trying to set it up. And at this point, she had called in previously onto the show, right? And then we were
She
in
called
the
in
between
the show prior. She had called in.
Right. Yeah. So in between that time, we were basically talking a little bit to set up the actual trip for Mike to go and be on the show, which he ended up doing.
Yeah, and actually, it was Dawn the jeweler that had the tweet that went viral that she eventually,
Shout out
responded
Dawn,
to that got the ball rolling. And then this was just a very Justin thing. They talked about the Justins, which was like the Oscars, but for Justin, and he got to pick every category. And my takeaway from that is that one of his categories was best adapted screenplay, and Kirk asked him to define what that meant, and he quite literally got it exactly backwards. He said it's what a movie would be if it were written after the fact.
Right.
Which is like the opposite. Obviously, adapted screenplay is it's adapted from a different piece of media. So Justin not getting that was classic Justin. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, how many times have we done the thing with him where it's like, say this name or pronounce this or whatever? And those were some of the most fun moments I had like during my run with Justin too. Because at that point, I had heard Gus say so many dumb things that when I kind of heard Kirk start to cook in on him, I just sat back and was like, let's beat them down here and now. Let's do it.
And speaking of like saying things incorrectly, like flying under the radar on stuff like that is Mick. I don't know if you listened to today's Beyond Average, but
I haven't
he
yet,
says
no.
he says the word czar, but he says it Cesar.
Oh,
like, and he's just a low key under the radar, like kind of misses a few things here and there. But do we have any other audio PRC before we get to the interview?
Yes. Just a quick one. This is kind of not all sunshine and roses with Mick and Montante. This is where Justin wanted to get in a fist fight with Montante about his treatment of Sam from the Delaware subway, who, if you remember, was the nicest lady the whole time. She played ball the entire time.
So this is the origin basically of the Justin Montante voice that he always did, like after the fact, kind of like the slow voice or whatever. It starts here. You start to hear it, and then I think by the next episode when Montante's in, he does the full thing that we have heard him do a bunch.
Oh, it was a good one on this one. Here, I'll play it real quick.
No, he said he would. To be fair, he said he would.
Oh, I still Porker though.
Yeah, to be fair,
What's the class?
No, the Eminem Boys have no class.
No class.
No, yeah, there's no C class in the Eminem Boys.
Oh, awful.
No, maggot. That's
That's the voice from the. I'd still fuck her though.
Yeah, exactly. From here on out, he ran with that.
And for those that don't know, the Eminem Boys, it was Mick and Montante. After the producer search, they, consistently were, staging this coup to take over as producers and call themselves the Eminem Boys. It never quite came to fruition, but it was, fun to contemplate at the time. One quick note on the Subway show. That was the first time I met you, Coleman, in person.
Yeah.
Limp handshake, not gonna lie.
Me?
Yo, yeah. Big
Oh,
time.
are you shitting me? I'm a master of handshakes.
I think you might have just been nervous before the show.
Maybe. But it's not like.
But my takeaway from the Subway show was after the show, a bunch of us went to a local bar, and we're in Harrington, Delaware, in the middle of nowhere.
Mhm.
And Montante stuck to his guns, did not have Bud Light, drank other beers because of the whole Mulvaney thing.
Right.
But the bartender had MS-13 tattoos like on her belly, like all over the place. She was like definitely in a gang, or used to be, or whatever. Very funny. I'd go back there tomorrow. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was a really weird but fun. Well, so that was kind of like my first real like pilgrimage, I'd say, of any sort with the Minifans. So that was the first time it was kind of eye-opening to see, wow, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere at a Subway, and yeah, they show up. So pretty cool.
Yeah, and from that, your number one takeaway, the next show, your first story was you wanted to hear the stories from Kevin and Bristol in the car with Mama Kay.
Yes, sir. Which, to be fair, we come to find out down the line that Kevin told
The babysitter story. Yeah.
the babysitter story to Mama K
Yep.
on that ride. Coleman was right. I'm just that's all I'm saying. To be honest, I didn't have a ton of story prep going into that show because I was so worried about everything else. So that's what happened. But I like to think Coleman was right. I was digging deep there.
Good instincts.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. So we're going to transition. Any other audio before we get to the interview?
Nothing of significance, really. Nothing.
Okay,
great.
so we have this crazy episode where Kirk's leaving the dozen and there's all this drama going on. But meanwhile, scheduled in the middle of the show, Jamie Lynn Siegler and Robert Eiler, AJ and Meadow Soprano from The Sopranos, are set to call in to sort of be an interview for the show. And they do, and it went really well. So they start by sort of, they had a podcast, they were promoting their podcast, and they talked about that for a little bit. My biggest early takeaway was that Robert Eiler literally never watched an episode of The Sopranos. He said he never has, and he probably never will. Coleman, what were your did that take you by surprise?
I guess so. I think the biggest. So I had heard previously that Robert Eiler was a big stoolie in general. Hearing the depths that he was locked in on shit like sports advisors being in the chat like right before it went off, like any other Minifan before KMS, like that was pretty cool. And the fact that he stayed on after Jamie Lynn and stuck around, fantastic. Like genuinely overall, kind of the perfect mix of interview, I thought. At the time for the show, because we get a little Barstool. He knows Kirk. He's seen Kirk in Surviving. And it all, and obviously the Sopranos connection with Steve there and Kirk loving Soprano. Like it was just perfect. The only thing before this was I'm pretty sure that interview was supposed to be after the show. But we had gone up to that point with everything going on that it just became a part of it. And I think what fully got us to hitting the 4-hour mark down the line.
Yeah, I think when they first called in, they weren't sure if they were on or not. And so Kirk said, Coleman, are we messing this up too, Coleman? Are we messing this up as well?
Well, because the Portnoy audio when he called in was either echoing or something. And honestly, like, I don't know if I was 100% certain that the audio was going to be clean or not, but I felt like a kind of, kind of just put your balls on the table moment and be like, it'll be fine in the episode after. And it was nice to hear listening back that it was. So fuck you guys for trolling me in the chat.
Been on the wrong end of that a few times, but that's
yeah. Feel you. Listen. Hey, maybe
another
if y'all
funny
took it easy one day, maybe the show is going right now. So
hey, if you wanted to drive to Kennedy Lake that day, the show you'd still be there. One funny takeaway from the interview is that Kirk gave Steve from Gloucester the opportunity to ask 2 questions, one Sopranos related and one wild card. And he led his question by asking him, like basically framing it up like, so your relationship with Jimmy. Now, Soprano fans know James Gandolfini as James Gandolfini. Apparently Steve from Gloucester knows him as Jimmy. So he's just going first name, nickname basis. To AJ and Meadow, like, so what about your relationship with Jimmy, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, I actually met him once when I was I think like 2 or 3, like baby, like toddler, walking into this like club thing in Jersey that there is like it's like a swimming club type thing, and we crossed paths. So technically I'm a Jimmy guy more than Steve.
Interesting. I think we do have a few clips from that interview. So, PRC, if you just want to play the first one, we'll see what we got.
Okay. Well, I guess here's a funny one of Kirk talking about his connection to Jamie Lynn that he found out they had. So
before I did this show at Barstool, I was on WEEI, a radio station in Boston, and I had a podcast there called Enough About Me. And who was my most famous fight with on that show? Do you remember?
I forget.
Former baseball player. Played for the Mets, the Phillies.
Dykstra,
Lenny Dykstra. That had a huge fight on Enough About Me, and that is your father-in-law, right?
Yeah,
thought
so
that was hilarious.
that was very funny. And if you ever did watch or listen to that episode of Enough About Me, it's
Yeah,
like 13 minutes long, and it's just like 5 minutes of bullshitting, and then they just blow up at each other. It is very funny. It made Jamie Lynn very uncomfortable. That is her literal father-in-law in real life, and he's a controversial figure. I know Coleman, he's a baseball player, so you probably never heard of him.
Yeah,
But
honestly, he could have been right next to Silvio in listing names. So,
but hey, funny, it all comes full circle. I've heard from lady minifans in the world within the last 2 months that Lenny Dykstra is sliding into the DMs. So he's a dog.
Are you sure this isn't just Pat Ford's like 10th account? Like,
no, I can sniff those out. Trust me.
Good.
So yeah, she got very uncomfortable with the Dykstra talk,
That's
and she
crazy.
left shortly thereafter. But PRC, we have a couple more clips from this interview.
Yeah, sure. This is kind of like a introspective one where Kirk kind of like has a very introspective moment where he kind of talks about how he's been thinking about death a lot more during the show and stuff like that. So we'll get that going.
I think about dying now all the time, and like not even in like a positive or negative way, but the idea of death now is like just looms over like everything I do now. I'm like, geez, I got to do this before I die. Got to make sure my kids do this before I die. Like death is over the last couple of years for some reason. I don't know if it's pandemic related. I don't know what it is.
Well, now you're being morbid.
I know, but I'm saying, it like consumes me now, and I don't know. I'm not really even afraid of it, but it's like I got to make sure all my stuff like this. Like a great actor, a great, you can be walking down the street and bam, you get hit by a bus. So these things worry me. That's all.
So true.
Can I bring up one interesting point about that? This is going to Coleman and his like an homage to his allegories and metaphors things, but at the very end, he was kind of like, I had to get all my ducks. I feel like I have to get all my ducks in a row and everything organized and stuff. I found that very poignant to the fact before he left that he made sure that he put Mutt in a position to thrive and succeed before he left. And I thought that was cool as shit. And it kind of goes back to that little introspective moment. Like, if I'm going to leave this show, I got to make sure everything, my family's taken care of before I go.
Totally.
Yeah, and it's good.
Go
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's. I think this was after they talked about the finale of Sopranos and that fade to black that I kind of mentioned at the intro, and I just thought Kirk's comments on death and everything that he just said right there, it just feels so fitting and like good to almost hear now that the show's over, because it did end up really kind of ending that way. Like basically KMS got hit by a bus. And we didn't see it coming,
And it is interesting how you bring up the way he set up Mutt and sort of lined things up for him. And I think Mutt gets that. And Kirk said he's been thinking about this for 6 months. Well, within that 6 months, he got Mutt a job. So that probably doesn't go unnoticed. And at the same time, like he's now got Justin and Dave still with full-time jobs. Imagine PRC if he said, "Hey, you're hired, move to Boston," and then 2 months later the show ended. Like you would have upended your life to go to a show that was about to end. So maybe in the back of his mind, he sort of knew that was coming, and could be a reason why he ended up bringing Dave back.
I think he was more concerned with Mutt and getting him on. I think I was the back burner, to be completely honest with you. I don't think he cared about that, but I thought that was really cool about Mutt.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and Mutt's, I've said it before, Mutt's one of those guys that he, if he just keeps doing what he's doing and stays in front of the camera and stays relevant, he can have a job at Barstool for as long as he wants.
Yeah, I think Dave just, as long as you're doing something, as long as you're working, like it doesn't have to be a hit or something like that. As long as you're doing something, or you're just an idiot like Mincy who just gets laughs from existing. But other than that,
yeah, Mutt's probably somewhere right in between that. Like he'll have his moment once or twice a year of just looking like an idiot. And, he actually does put out a mutt stack and blogs and all this other more like, again, more than some people do at Barstool. So, that's
he probably works harder than most of the employees at Barstool.
Yeah.
I think, and he has the horse racing angle. So Dave likes that. So he'll be at a desk with Dave 3-4 times a year talking horses. That's valuable. Do we have one more clip from this interview with maybe they mentioned Rico or?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what Coleman was just talking about with the Sopranos finale, where he wasn't too into it, and then it kind of came to him and kind of made him, like we're talking about taking care of your boys and your family and stuff, kind of made him realize like we'll get into it.
So anyway,
how's your relationship with Rico right now?
Much like you don't watch The Sopranos, I don't talk to Rico anymore. It's we're in a tough spot. We're in a tough spot.
The pain that people feel when they didn't like the finale. That's how I feel when you don't talk to Rico.
Hey, I did.
That hurts my heart.
So that's a great one because I'm open to it. Like the finale of The Sopranos, I hated when I first saw it because I you wanted the real fireworks you got the second to last episode. Everybody dies, Bobby dies, and da da da. This is as older I get, the better the finale is. So I think I'm willing to. I reached out. I said on the show yesterday, Robert. I said Rico and I did some trivia stuff where I'm now open to sitting down and breaking bread with Rico and getting.
Yeah, and Kirk's relationship with Rico has always been hot and cold throughout the years. So it's very funny. Like you mentioned, Eiler was just a huge stoolie. He at one point said if he had a Mount Rushmore of like Barstool personalities, it would be Portnoy, Rico, Stu Feiner, and Kirk. Now, did he throw Kirk in there just because he was on his show? I'm not here to say, but I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, he started to say Big Cat. No, but no, I thought that shit. I just had it. I lost it. Come back to me. I just had it.
Yeah, so just Eiler talking about Rico, talking about the relationship, talking about surviving.
Did you happen to have the Rico call later when he calls into the show?
No mas.
Okay. No, all good.
Yeah.
Basically though, we kind of Rico's almost like love language to KMS is his calls. Where he does, GB or whoever. And so you finally saw Rico kind of he hadn't done him in a while, do that in this episode as well. And to me, that was kind of like in the moment, like, okay, Rico's back. Like everything's kind of good,
Yeah, I think he called in and did a Susan impression. For those that don't know, like you, Coleman, Susan Waldman was one of the announcers for the Yankees.
I couldn't hear who he said when he did it, and I just kind of glossed over it. I had no idea that's who it was. Okay, word.
He did her voice often. He was Rico at times was playing a version of Sour Shoes that used to call in like to the old Stern where he would do all these voices and bits.
Right. Yeah.
So it was funny that interview was plucked right in the middle of this episode because right after the interview was over, we're at 3 hours and 8 minutes into the show, and Kirk turns and says, like, "We're still on the air, right?" And you guys are like, "Yeah, we're still going."
Yeah, it was crazy. It just felt like I think once it hit that interview, it felt like a marathon. The longer that went, like probably when Jamie left and Robert Eiler was still chilling, just talking Barstool, that became like, all right, we're in this for the long haul. I know we still have to probably like wrap up and everything after this. There's still also during this interview, major dozen news breaking. So Justin and I are kind of freaking out, but also can't really interrupt, them in that interview with all this out of context stuff or whatever. So that was absolutely crazy too. I knew we had to get to that after the fact too.
Yeah, and Eiler was he is obsessed with Stu Feiner and his content, which it's funny for a few minutes, but people say
it's genuine though. Like anytime I've ever met Stu, the first things out of his mouth are, "Do you have a joint or a lighter?" Or like. That's pretty much it. It's only ever that. So he's a legend. Like that's Stu Feiner.
So PRC, any thoughts on up to this point where we're at?
About the interview? I thought
the interview during the interview, the dozen sort of the wherever you want to go with it.
Oh, I just thought it was a great interview by Kirk, and the honesty that he was able to get out of Robert. Like when Robert just basically went on talking about his addictions and his gambling addiction, and like how he used to get alcohol. I was like, holy shit! How did he get him to say all that stuff?
The guy quit acting and moved to Vegas for like 5 years or something, and just like was at the strip club at 2:00 on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and he's like casually taking Percocets. I was like, dude, chill out. He's like, yeah, NBA hits harder when you're off the perks. I was like, yo, settle, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's like betting like women's college softball like Wednesday night.
And they asked him like a quick, like, do you have a quick pick for like tonight's game and stuff? And he went on like a 10-minute fucking analysis of the entire game.
Yeah.
Before he finally got to like somebody over rushing yards. He was like, yeah, go for it.
No, he also threw in that he had his buddy was tipping him off to like hockey overs or something too. Like first period overs.
First period overs. Yeah.
Yeah. Guy was a degen, but hey, that respect, man. You can have
And hey, it all ties back. They gave Mutt a question and Mutt asked him about gambling.
Yeah.
Like, go figure.
Celebrity poker matches or whatever.
What do you say? An informed gambler? He's a,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he called him an informed gambler.
Yeah, because he listens to sports podcasts. It's crazy.
So while this whole interview is going on, the dozen is falling apart behind the scenes. At some point, Barstool Radio hits the air, and this is the only thing they're talking about is the trade, the league and its integrity of the league, and is this fair? Is this not fair? And I mentioned it before. At this point, you had Jeff call back in, then you had Rico call in, then you had Big Cat call back in for a second time, then you had Clemmer call in. Clemmer had a weird line where, how do you feel about this? And he said, like, it makes me feel yucky.
Oh, yeah. Like a fucking 5-year-old.
They're like, yucky? What are you talking about? You're a grown man.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, so one other quick thought I had too was this is before Unnamed, obviously. And this episode has like essentially 4 different parts. This kind of in a way showed what Unnamed would become, essentially. Minus Whitney, take Whitney out of it. You effectively had Dave and Kirk, you know, kind of talking all things current Barstool going on, and mix in with like controversy of the dozen the entire way. So this I felt like was kind of the very first in my mind, like Unnamed without being unnamed, you know?
Yeah, it was the Kirk and Dave banter, and it was Barstool drama is what it comes down to.
And it had so much, it had like so many allusions, like even Friends drop got in there from like previous episodes and stuff like that. It was like everything that you missed was in one show.
That's why I say when I had to pick an episode from this time, I really just thought that this brought everything into the fold. It felt like everything was there, you know?
Yeah, so all these guys call in, and then Barstool Radio is live, and they're going, and Kirk's like, hey, you think I should just call into Barstool Radio and talk to these guys? So after multiple conversations with Dave and with Jeff and with Big Cat and Rico and Clemmer and everybody, Kirk calls into Barstool Radio to hash it out with these guys. And like it started off contentious, but Kirk actually started making concessions, and he's like, hey, I think we can make a deal here. And so he started to structure a deal to back out of the trade. Trade is rescinded, but Team KMS has first round bye through the regular season and into the playoffs. And when he proposed that, Dave immediately said, accepted. I don't want to do the Triv League. Let's keep the dozen as it is. Like, this is a good deal. Jeff, you in? And Jeff just froze.
Painful listening back.
He went to Jeff D. Low to Jeff D. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
He
literally.
paused and he was thinking it through. He was overthinking it in his head. Like, is Kirk trying to get one over on me here? What are the implications of this? What are the unknown ramifications? I don't want to tank my league because I'm getting bullied here. And during that, we'll call it a negotiation, Portnoy was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, decide. And Jeff couldn't decide. And Dave walked out of the room. Dave left the studio.
Just brutal. I think this is maybe the first, if not one of the few times, like, this was Jeff's worlds coming to a head and colliding in perfect. Like, if you're a Minifan, you've had those moments where it seems like everything is crashing down on you and like the show's coming at you and people are coming at you. This was it for him. Like, it's his league, it's his allegiance to Kirk and KMS, and it's coming to a head right up against Portnoy. Like, it's a perfect storm of just, you got to feel for Jeff in the moment too, because I don't really know what I would do either. I'd probably take that deal, but like, just a brain fuck for the guy. I feel sorry for him in it, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be tough being wedged between Kirk and Dave, like two people that are just absolute savages at putting people in mental head traps. You know, like, to think through all if I were Jeff, I would have just said yes and then negotiated afterwards, like behind the scenes and stuff like that. But I
thought he was going to kill himself.
No, he was that might have been the only option. Was just like, all right, I'm just done.
Yeah. I love how they kept bringing it up though, and they're like, would be a power move though. Jeff just offed himself after that.
Yeah, and Kirk kept saying it during the episode, like, Jeff is going to lose his job and he's going to end up working at Subway.
That's great.
So this was all going on. Eventually, I think Kirk said to Dave, because Dave walked out of the room, okay, he has an hour to decide. He needs to get back to me. We need to, like, because eventually Jeff agreed. He said, fine, that works. But he took too long. So they had to call Dave back. Dave wouldn't go back into the room. It was this whole dramatic scenario. It played out live on KMS as well as live on Barstool Radio. And at that point, I think after all those calls happened, Kirk looked up at you guys and he was like, how long have we been going? Did we hit 4 hours yet? And I think you guys just sort of bantered for another 10 minutes or so until you definitely cleared that 4 hour mark. And at some point,
they ended up getting Dave and Jeff again after separately, and Big Cat again, I think, after as well. And it just kept going. Like, it was nonstop. Just like, you needed to be locked in that day, with all the moving parts that were going on. And obviously after the Dave audio, I figured that out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and at some point, Kirk said, "This is one of the craziest shows of all time."
Mm-hmm.
Was.
It turned out to be true.
Definitely.
PRC, is there? I know you exhausted all your clips. Is there any audio that we glossed over that you wanted to share from the episode, or are we backstepped on that?
There's a few things that I was gonna like wedge in there, like, but nothing that would fit in the timeline now. So I think we did pretty good. Like, that was a great recommendation, Coleman. Like that just brought me back to the good old days when everything was humming and feeling good. So if anything, it was really nice to get those like nostalgic memories back.
Totally. Yeah. I think too, I guess we don't have more clips, but one moment that actually I like kind of laughed out loud and cackled was Mutt is also wearing these like boots that day in studio. And we're going back and forth, and everyone's bantering, and Kirk drops in a, what are you, jumping in a puddle later? And I lost it. It's such a good, if you watch this episode back after you watch this one, look out for that, and maybe even watch the YouTube, because it got me. It really got me again this time.
Yeah, if you have not watched this episode, it's highly recommended. Obviously, we're doing a recap on it. It's called Your League's Done, Jeff. It's from January 24th of 2024. And like you said, it's over 4 hours. It was a great episode. It was a sort of like a benchmark episode in terms of, it was one of, in your 9 months as producer, it was probably one of your top 5 moments, in the studio.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To me, it was, and even listening back, I don't really do much like content in this one. I'm just really proud looking back that everything relatively went off technically with the amount of moving parts that there was. So that's a win in my book,
So there's a couple, closing items I want to close with, but in terms of putting a bow on this episode, is there anything else that we didn't talk about regarding this specific episode or the context in which we've discussed it tonight that anybody wanted to share?
I think that's pretty much it. So that's mainly what I had.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say what I said before. Like, this would be a great starting point if you want to get into watching more KMS stuff and stuff like this, because it's just has so many avenues that you can explore from it. It just kind of all branches off into a million different side stories. So it's really cool.
And if you're more of a Barstool first guy, it's an easy transition that way too, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's very emblematic of the modern KMS where it is tied into the dozen. It is tied into Dave.
Mm-hmm.
It does sort of have the feel of Unnamed Show at times. So great recommendation for this episode. Again, if you haven't checked it out, highly recommended. So just a couple closing pieces. I said it before, this is not going to be a recurring Quantum Kirk every week. It might be once a month. We'll see leading up to Laconia. I might try to get different producers that were on the show at the time to chime in like we did tonight with Jack. Speaking of Laconia, so it's still a few months out. Do we have any expectations? Are there any, it's the last curtain call for KMS. What do you guys hope happens? Is there a storyline you want to see closed? People, if you go all the way back to the first episode, they teased that they were going to talk about the rock opera wedding at the end of the first episode, and they said we'll get to it tomorrow, and then they pushed that back, and they just never got to it. I think if they did a rock opera wedding at the Laconia show, it would be interesting. What do you guys think or expect for the show?
I personally think I don't necessarily want a closed ending. It all goes back to the Sopranos thing. I don't want a closed ending on KMS. I want, us to all go out to Laconia. Everyone's there. All the Minifans are there. I'm going to be there. I believe.
Breaking news.
I mean, yeah, sure. I'm going to Laconia. I don't know. I planned on it. But I think that if you get more of those storylines there, that's what makes it KMS. And I think it's going to hurt a little bit that we won't have that follow-up show to address whatever drama goes on, because it's Minifans, because it's Kirk, because it's KMS. We're going to have that happen. So overall, I just hope it's more the vibe of really a celebration, both of Kirk, the show, and even the Minifans, because it's a really special community. And I think that overall, we're just going to have an absolute time. It should be all really good vibes, I think, there.
And I got breaking news. I'm gonna go because I've never been to one, and I figure if this is the last one, at least it's an experience that I can say I went. So I'm all about experiences. So I have no expectations. I'm just gonna go and just ride the wave and see where it takes me.
I will say too, for Laconia, for whoever didn't go to the last one, it actually was pretty incredible how the entire town was basically Minifans. I wasn't even a part of the show at that point, and I was just having the time of my life, bumping into everyone from Twitter. Obviously, that happens at all the events at Saco and everything, but it's pretty cool how Minifans are running the show there.
Yeah, and if you recall, the night before will be Mike and the Minifans, hopefully at the same bar. Jack last year very gracefully refilled my ice water a couple times.
That's it. I ain't doing it again.
I was parched at the moment. But hey, listen, that was the last time Mike and the Minifans happened.
No shit.
There has not been one since then.
Damn.
So there will be a full year until the next Mike and the Minifans happens. It'll be the night before, I assume at the same bar. And it's for the environment. You're not there to watch Mike and the Minifans. You're there for the environment. You're there for the Danny and Bill Ricca karaoke. You're there for the stories. You're there for the
fantastic.
You're there for the Roscoe and Clemmer interactions. You're there for all that stuff.
Yeah. Play pong with me and Mick. We did last time. It was a lot of fun.
Yes. Montante Mansion underway.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. I think we've done an okay job tonight. Hopefully we, did a respectful job for Danny and Daver, who this was their program. They did well over 20, 30 episodes. Looking back, so this might come back a month from now. We'll see. But thank you guys both for joining. Thank you everybody for watching, and just sort of stay tuned. And we'll see what's next. Good night, everybody.
Rando.
All right.
I am a man with many enemies.
The elevator opens for no one,
The Boston Red Sox,
and plans on making me.
the mayor of Boston, the governor of Massachusetts,
I'm paralyzed into you,
Boston Globe.
and plans on making me.
It's a war.
And plans on making me.
We're going to battle it out.
All sit there.
Everyone looks like
Won't learn a fucking
everyone.
thing.
My dick so big doesn't even matter. He's 2 feet tall.
Nobody will get in trouble. Now, of course, everybody's going to kill each other after watching.
He's gonna fucking open his mouth, it'll fall right in.
You're too busy to accept it.
And it is going to be, when it's done, the most successful podcast in the history of mankind.
And we already met.
Listen, there's only one Minifan show.
Everyone looks like everyone.
It's right here.
And